Hi, I'm Lauren. Today I'm going to be doing a spiral hand tie. I have this beautiful palette of colors, very spring-like colors. I've got some pinks, some lavenders, go into some of my more muted tones. I'm even bringing in this gorgeous golden yellow, which is really nice, that I'll pair with this chamomile to tie the colors all together. So I'm really excited about doing a spiral hand tie with everything that I've selected here. The first thing I'm going to do is go through my flowers and clean them so that when I'm ready to use them in my hand tie, it's easy to just put the flower in. So what I mean by that is, this is a tulip. I can't put it into my hand tie with all of these leaves on, so I'm going to go through and remove the foliage. And I want to get a nice clean stem, so I'm going to take my knife and shave down those extra bits of foliage there. Tulips grow from a bulb, so they grow from underneath the earth, push themselves up through the earth until they have this gorgeous flower. But while they're doing that, the leaves pick up the soil. So often with a tulip, when you're pulling apart the leaves, I picked a clean one, you will find that there is quite a bit of soil and dirt. So it's good to kind of clean that away. Kind of like asparagus. If you've ever peeled asparagus, this is a very similar process. I love the idea of peeling asparagus because it tastes so much better when you cook it. I never do it. It's too time consuming. But in this instance, it really makes a big difference to do to your tulips. I'm growing asparagus this year. But asparagus, when you plant it as a root crown, it still takes 3 years until you can actually harvest your first asparagus. When you're shaving the tulips, it's also really important to not cut into the stem too much. You really just want to shave off those kind of nodes where the leaves are growing from. If you shave into the stem too much, you won't have a sturdy tulip. So now that I have all of my tulips cleaned, I'm going to just put them aside. My tulips are put aside so that they are ready once I'm going to go ahead and put my spiral hand tie together. So the next thing that I'm going to get ready for my hand tie is this beautiful rose. It's called Pink Floyd. You may have seen it in our earlier arrangements, like our rosé bubbles. Great rose. It's a really sturdy head. It opens so big and so beautiful. So that's why I wanted to bring it into this. I'm going to go ahead and take off these shipping guard petals. They protect the rest of the rose, but they're not attractive, so we go ahead and take those right off. It depends on the flower, but for the most part, the general rule of thumb is once flowers come in, they're cleaned, they're cut, they're put into lukewarm Floral Life water. They should sit in a room temperature environment for at least an hour, and then they should go into a cool environment for at least 24 hours before they're used in an arrangement. When a flower is in a room temperature environment, it helps them drink as much Floral Life as they can, Floral Life or floral preservative. And when you put them into a cool environment, it locks that hydration in. The next flower that I'm going to go into is this beautiful brassica. This particular brassica is, it's small, which is really appropriate for something like a hand tie, whereas sometimes we've used the bigger brassica, which would be more appropriate for a vase arrangement. So this is going to be a really nice addition to really fill out our arrangement. Chefs know the term mise en place. Many people know the term mise en place. But it is a chef's term, and basically it means assembling all of your ingredients. For instance, if you're baking a cake, you measure out your cup of sugar, put it aside. You measure out your teaspoon of vanilla, put it aside. We're more or less doing mise en place with our spiral hand tie. My brother, Chef Jason, would be proud that I know that. Next, I'm going to move into my carnations. I am a huge carnation fan. They have come a long way. They are back on trend. They are back in style. And largely it's because carnations have just become great. The color, the color of this is just incredible. It's golden, but it has some pink tones to it. It has shade to it. It has texture. It's really, it has shade. It has texture. It has color. It's a very, very good element to bring into a spiral hand tie like this. And as we're pulling it together, you'll see how much it bridges the colors together. These ranunculus, these pon-pon ranunculus, we actually have already cleaned. So I'm going to leave them right here in the bucket of water. And that way, when I'm ready to use them, they're easy for me to just pull out and incorporate. And the last thing that I want to bring in is this gorgeous clematis. I want this to have a little bit of movement, and the clematis is what's going to give me that movement. One of the really great things about owning a flower shop and having a very busy shop is that I can take this off knowing that it's not going to work in my hand tie, and I can put it aside and put it into a bud vase that we'll use in something later. I'm going to go ahead and take some of the foliage off of my greens. As you all know, I love greens. Greens are great. They're very useful. They help to, pump up an arrangement. They help to give an arrangement base. In color studies, it's shown that green will make other colors such as pink pop a lot more. So it's nice to have something to really give it an area to pop off of. In school, we had to go through colors. The color wheel, controversial, the color wheel. But we did have to know, a specific color wheel. And then going through active color harmonies, passive color harmonies, analogous color harmonies, concerton, things like that were all involved in our curriculum. So the assignment during school was that we walked into a room not knowing the flowers that we were walking into. We all stood behind our tables and opened up our flowers, and then from that point had 15 minutes to do a spiral hand tie, bind it, put it on the table, and have it not fall over, even if the table's hip checked. First thing I'm going to start with is my greens. I love my greens, and I'm going to bring in this beautiful pink rose. And the thing with spiral hand ties, actually it's kind of tough to do over the table. So spiral hand ties, it is quite literally stacking the flowers in a spiral and making sure that your stems are constantly going at the same angle. So I can't come in, this is my angle, I can't come in and put a flower at this angle. And you'll see as this develops that becomes more obvious. And I always like to turn it as it's in my hand. So as you can see, my stems are starting to kind of angle out, and I want to make sure I maintain that. And then, so I like to use electrical tape when I bind my arrangements. I prefer electrical tape because it has some give to it. You can also use wire, but sometimes I find with the more delicate stems like tulips, the wire will cut into the stem. Voila. And there you have a spiral hand tie. That's pretty stable. Thank you so much for watching. It was so much fun to do a spiral hand tie, and come on in, pick up one for Valentine's Day for a loved one. I'm a big fan of mixed arrangements as opposed to, roses arranged. So this is a nice way to really show someone you care. Follow us on social media. Come in and check out the store, Instagram, Facebook.